Haunter hasn't played it this year, and of course we haven't seen him play last week. He gets to practice more champion pools in silence, but that would be a ban I would look for. Not going to happen here.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we have to keep in mind as well. It has been 3 weeks since TSM has played on stage, so they have essentially gotten to see what FlyQuest's best shot was during that reverse sweep, and theoretically have had time to prepare for that.
Nash first pick going to come through is the most highly prized bot laner in this patch, and not a huge surprise to see that one picked up right there. TSM somewhat uncharacteristically actually banned Malzahar away.
It's also a big takeaway from Wild Turtle, because Wild Turtle has actually played 20 games of Ashe compared to only 5 from Altec. They very often put him on this pick. Whether you're behind, whether you're ahead, it has great utility, it has great engage, and that's often what TSM looks for.
Yeah, and even though I've heard a lot of TSM talk about how much they like Wild Turtle's large champion pool,
talent,
they definitely seem to succeed more when he's on a utility pick, and wow, that's a little shocking.
I am very excited now to see, is it going to be something like the Kennen or the Fizz coming out here from Haunter? Are they prepared for that matchup against the Rumble? Because the Rumble has been picked as I expected.
It really has been, but it's also very rare that you see both solo lanes blinded in the first 3 picks. So this is, to me, very clearly FlyQuest picking towards a style and not really caring what TSM is going to be going up against them with.
Plus, they may have some hidden picks, things for support, things for jungle. 2 of their players that are very flexible and willing to play off some different picks. We've seen things like Blitzcrank and the Eve and the Shaco and the Kindred. So they may have something that they want to hide and perhaps pick based on TSM's composition.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely know that Moon's champion pool is actually amazing. I always like the fact that he's willing to play out so many different things. The Evelyn one of my faves as well, and he's happy to wait and sift through these bans a little bit longer. Of course, you know you expect to see support and jungle bans out of TSM. And then there's that Fizz ban that we thought was going to be important.
Yeah, and this is going to be so interesting just because there are multiple roles that are mismatched. You would normally expect a team, I feel like, to ban the junglers in this type of pinch situation, but because Moon has such a large champion pool, the Zyra ban was more fitting for TSM.
I also do like the flexibility that TSM is being given here because of the focus on the top lane. So if FlyQuest decide to ban out even the Kennen and be like, okay, we're going to avoid these matchups, TSM can still grab a Nautilus, which is a very high priority top lane pick, something that is by no means going to be at a big disadvantage.
Yeah, and this is why the red side gets chosen so often. They really do have so much more flexibility towards this second half of the draft. And it's also potentially why FlyQuest would have been willing to lock in these solo laners anyway, because they weren't really going to get many counter-picking opportunities. Interesting Mundo ban. They did have to play against it in that Game 2 of the COG series against the Rumble, and it was effective.
Yeah, Darshan was completely dominating that game on the Mundo. I think it worked out very well. So still a lot of options open with the Kennen.
Yeah, and as a champion that I've seen Haunter play from way back in the Challengers, I remember casting him like some hard carry games on whether it was Curse Academy or LoL Pro, but way back in the day. He's always been very good at the hybrid tank carry champions in the top lane, and he will just play a hard tank in the Nautilus, as you were talking about before.
Yeah, and this gives TSM 2 counter picks, so to speak, in the solo lanes, and I feel like generally favorable matchups. Rumble has been picked into Nautilus, but when you have a strong jungler like that, it is a very snowbally lane if the Nautilus gets ahead, because it can basically starve out the Rumble from farming.
Yeah, I really just like the draft so far from TSM. Unless FlyQuest can really pull off something very surprising as far as their jungle picks here, or their support pick, TSM has essentially gotten some super high priority champions for them across the board, gotten to see everything that FlyQuest has wanted to do, and still ended up with some of their most played, biggest comfort picks.
Absolutely agreed. Tank jungle coming in through for Moon, unless it's potentially a support, although I heavily doubt it. I have seen it played. Nope, it's going to be Braum, so a very large front line in for FlyQuest. Braum does not get seen often, does benefit from the new Keystone, Stormborn Pact, and maybe was enough to make Elimination want to play it here.
It's the smallest of chances that this is a Rebel jungle. Like we saw that in the LCS for a while, but I would be super surprised. And it does just seem a little bit surprising that you wanted to show off your solo laners like this to take something like a Braum, which I think is picking yourself into a pretty tough matchup against the Karma, which has already been shown.
Yeah, Wild Turtle's going to be pulling out his first Lucian of the year, although that's definitely been a pick that's gaining a lot of popularity. I specifically like it against the Talon. The Blade of the Ruined King Black Cleaver build that often goes to Ninja Tabby is actually a really durable AD with a lot of mobility, so I like that choice for Wild Turtle in this matchup. And so much of this is because FlyQuest showed their hand so early of what type of team composition they were going to be. If you're going to be running the Talon Rumble, the rest of the team composition is either going to be fully squishy split push, or you're going to throw in tanks in non-super high income situations. And TSM, I think, was able to draft a good comp against it.
I definitely agree, but that said, FlyQues does have some extremely powerful AoE team fighting. You have the setup for the Rumble ultimate with the Braum ultimate. You have AoE damage coming out of both the Talon and the Gragas, plus the pick potential of the Ashe. So I think that they have a lot of CC, they have a lot of burst potential and AoE teamfight potential, and TSM has some really strong lanes.
Of course they do, and TSM has always been a very strong laning team. Back when they were such a dominant team, people thought they were maybe a top 4 team in the world by the end of last year. They were super hard winning early game. They would snowball into 25-minute victories. TSM's always been known for their individual player skill and somewhat risk-averse play style. We are now getting ready to head into the Rift for Game 1. The fans are ready to go, and so are we as well. And it all comes down to this 3 to 5 games to determine who will meet Cloud9 in the North American LCS Spring Finals. TSM can make it 9 finals trips in a row. They just need to win 3 games. And here we go with Game 1.
And FlyQuest just needs 2 more series wins to become gods, as Lemonation said.
And that is a thing with FlyQuest is no challenge is too large for them. They came into the split after essentially most of the fans thinking Balls, High, and Lemon were never coming back into the LCS. When they did, everyone kind of expected them to be these washed-up players. Maybe their mechanics wouldn't have been good enough, but they have been able to persevere and prevail over so many of the other NALCS teams, already taking down COG. Next up will be TSM, and then would be Cloud9, who the winner of this will meet in the finals. So a hard road ahead, but if anyone believes they can do it, it's FlyQuest.
And their fans. They've got a great rabid fan base who believes in all the old school talent that FlyQuest do host. 6 total championships, I believe, across the players on the FlyQuest side. 2 for High, 2 for Balls, 2 for Elimination. And we'll see if they can add some more to the list.
I think this bot lane is going to be pretty exciting from the FlyQuest side. You know, there is a lot of gank potential early on with both the Braum gank assist and Moon. Early body slam flash ganks from the Gragas can be very powerful, so I think that you have to show a lot of respect in the early couple levels if you're TSM to the power of those Gragas ganks.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance as well, because at least in the mid lane, TSM with the Syndra pick definitely want to be shoving in and playing very aggressive, but the Syndra is one of the lower mobility champions that if you can get onto with the Gragas is punishable. So it's the ability to get deep wards or track Moon can mean so much in the early game.
And that's often what Gragas, you know, you have to track him as this Graves. That's so much of what your job is in the early levels. You don't necessarily have to match his ganking power, but you do have to keep a good idea of where he is, get vision out, and keep your teammates safe through control of things like Scuttle.
And right now there's only 2 possible places that Moon could have started. They saw Elimination and Altec walk in a lane to start, so maybe he soloed Raptors, which is unlikely, or he more likely got a blue leash from Balls. And because Gragas is AoE base, he's probably doing Wolves next, then probably Raptors and Red, and so they can expect him to be bottom side. Pretty likely.
Yeah, and there's also so much history in this mid lane matchup between Bjergsen and High, going back 3 years plus. And what was always so key about High's playstyle early is how boldly aggressive he would be and how often he used to get solo kills at level 2 or 3 in these lanes. He's taken Ignite on Talon, Bjergsen's the barrier, and you're also noticing High playing super aggressive early on in this lane, just trying to push Bjergsen back and maybe get early roaming.
Oh, wow. Svenskeren.
Whoops!
Well, it doesn't cost him too much, just the body slam over.
That is actually so key that Sven spotted that out. So Moon's jungle path was directly built to get bot lane at a very early timing with level 3, pick up both buffs. And now that has been completely foiled, the bot lane from TSM can go aggressive, and Sven can start to push Moon around in the jungle.
And this is the type of Svenskeren that you want to see in the playoffs, but these are the risky moves that were also getting him killed earlier on, and this is something that TSM was very clear they didn't want to have happen would be Svenskeren die early, but this is the type of successful aggression you would love to see if you're wanting to see Svenskeren succeed.
And you're seeing a minion lead +8 for Bjergsen, +4 base in the minion wave for Wild Turtle in the bot lane over Altec, and you just saw an entire camp be stolen away from Svenskeren.
Yeah, and just to echo what happened there with Svenskeren is because the Karma has the push advantage of the Braum in the bottom side, it is a smart pregame jungle path for Moon to go down there. And the fact that Svenskeren was right there in that moment was so critical for TSM's early game.
Especially because Brom's gank assist is fantastic, but his actual straight-up laning is much weaker. You're going to be poked out as this melee support, but your all-in potential is very high. And you can see they're really taking a lot of punishment down here.
The track record's well enough, and now Sven in the battle against Balls. Plenty of damage. Never flashes any of the damage. Balls!
If you
Gonna
get
be
the
chunked
reload,
low, can't die, but if you're willing to flash, why not flash the skill shot? Gets away with it anyway.
That said, that is such an easy return gank with Nautilus and Graves, neither one of them blowing their flash, and Nautilus being some of the most powerful gank assistants.
Real quick, we do have an aside as Captain Flowers caught up with Reginald about what he thought about Game 1.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I did get a chance to talk to Reggie, and he is feeling good about how his team's chances look in this series going up against FlyQuest. He was a little bit surprised at how sort of standard things look coming out from FlyQuest after champion select in game number 1. He thinks that the unconventional things that you sometimes see those guys do is definitely one of their strengths, so we'll have to see how that plays out for them. And he thinks this one is going to come down to a lot of big team fights, and that the Bjergsen High matchup in the mid lane with Talon versus Syndra is going to be skill-based and exciting. So we'll have to see how this plays out for everybody. Back to you guys.
And it is interesting to hear that he is so surprised, because we've even heard from Lemonation that while those off-meta picks are useful, you still need to be able to play the meta. He thinks you have to be able to play both, and FlyQuest had moved more towards standard picks in the later half of the season.
Absolutely, they were always innovators, but you're right. They had started running into a wall and said, let's stop playing the Shaco, stop playing the Blitzcrank, let's find something else that works for us. And we will see if that new style does work out for them. Right now, 300 gold lead for TSM due to the laning phase. No surprise seeing the pedigree of these teams, but it is obviously far from over. Altec elimination, though, very much in the back foot. Down 13 minutes, hoping to get some of this wave. And Altec takes both halves of that Soul Flare from Biofrost.
Yeah, it's still very aggressive play from Wild Turtle and Biofrost, something we haven't seen that much of in the laning phase during the regular split, but so much that is because of this jungle control that TSM has. Second pack of Baby Raptors, Fenscairn stolen away from Moon, and not only does that get them the experience lead, it allows them to stay pushed up in the bottom side because they know Gragas isn't making any sneaky moves.
Danger. Danger for elimination is running away, and thankfully for him, not going to be surrounded. Altec had already done the recall, but it's a Berserker's Breeze back, which isn't exactly amazing. And Sven staying for some turret damage. I think it's to clear the wave and maybe match the recall for Turtle.
And it's actually a lot of turret damage. Yeah. 6 minutes in, already getting this turret down below half, having the CS advantage, will have a very powerful back, and they can even just have a lane gank come in from Sven, push them off, and try to force down that first turret.
We'll see if they get the repeat gank then, because right now the summoners are up for FlyQuest. Elimination closer to 6th than Altec is, but that gank may still come through. We'll see what kind of items Turtle gets.
Yeah, I do have to credit Balls early on in this lane, though, for being up in CS despite absorbing that gank from Svenskeren. Yes, Rumble is normally able to shove in Nautilus, but it's the kill threat that you have to worry about. And the fact that he hasn't died at level 6 is worth pointing out.
Especially when he's going up against a very laning-focused itemization from Hanser. Triple Dorans, it's all of that early power that you do get, and Nautilus can be actually quite threatening with it.
Yeah, and this has become more and more common. There was a double Dorans early on in the year. Now people are going triple Dorans on things like Gragas, Nautilus, and Maokai top lane, and it's just for that shove arms race that you're trying to play. Against a Rumble who's shoving so strongly already, you want to be able to match him in trades and then also get the kill threat with those early Dorans.
And I also think you can get away with it more easily because you're up against AP jungler and AP top laner. But there's the engage.
Body slam flash into all the damage. Up, he's going to try to run away, but Sven running out of health, and Ball's going to look for revenge from the top lane. First blood to FlyQuest, and they want a bit more. Parkour over the wall. Assassin's Creed is here. High wants in to make it a 2 for 0, and Moon gets the kill credit.
And these are exactly the type of plays that FlyQuest need to make in the early game to jump ahead of TSM. Svenskeren during the regular season was having issues with invades. It was working early on in this game, but this time he gets punished, and Hanser pays the price.
But a punishment down to the bottom line. Look at the damage. Elimination takes the heal, pops the cleanse out as well. He's going to be okay. The flash, I should say, exhaust, and towards the Colossus Shield, even part of that as well. They get away with it.
And 4 summoners blown from the FlyQuest bot lane there. We'll see if they can get that repeat focus, but here it is, Sven moving in and bites off a little more than he can chew, not respecting the body slam flash.
And they already had 2 wards in his red side jungle, so Moon was probably going to get there. The fact that Svenskeren tried that play without Hanser being pushed up and able to roam is inherently risky. And then Hanser also fail flashes over the wall at the end, preventing his escape.
Well, a big sign of life for FlyQuest. This is very interesting.
I also think part of the biggest win from that on FlyQuest is how fast Balls has gotten to his double spell penetration items this early on. He starts with the Ruby Crystals, we see even faster towards it, and at 8.5 minutes, he had 30 spell penetration flat. Like, that's very powerful.
Yep, and Ball's in a state now, as you mentioned, where he's got all the flat pen, TP is up, ulti is almost up in a second, and FlyQuest, I feel like their best Drake is probably Mountain. They're a team that loves to do these super high-risk Baron rushes, and Mountain Drake is like a 15-20% damage amp against Baron itself. And if you cut down the time it takes, the chance you get checked is much, much, slimmer, and it might be a really big deal for them.
Yeah, especially if they can get top lane priority with that Rumble or get that turret down early, makes vision control much harder to obtain in that area.
4-man move coming here from TSM, though. They want to get the kills, but also to knock down this first turret. Let's see if they can go for it.
Yeah, both top laners do have teleport as well. We got to track this right now.
TP coming in first for Hanser. 1 second later is Balls. 4v5, stunning up Bjergsen to get some damage. They knock him back into this one. Look at the gameplay right there. A quick goal for the trade kill is in. Equalizer's huge, but he's not going to chase in Balls. Low on HP, looks for Sven. He's going to give the flame spinner with a trade kill anyway. 2 for 2 so far this fight. And it has been free time for High, who just had to recall.
It was a 4v5 from the start, so credit to Moon for being in that position since that bottom lane was being pushed in so much.
Yeah, it's a great read on the play here from Moon. Only thing that does save them, TP does come in faster from the Nautilus, which was key, but look at the ult on Bjergsen, layered with that Braum ulti from Lemon Nation. Good CC to take him down early.
Yeah, and then the very end of this fight did get a little dicey. They couldn't quite finish off Sven Skaren, so the nice little turn at the very end to make it a 2 for 2. But overall, that's still a bad play for TSM. They're the ones that invested 5 people down for the dive, and it was against 4. They didn't get the turret, and they traded 2 for 2, which means it's advantage FlyQuest.
And you can see High is actually setting up a trap here because he knows the blue buff is active, and Bjergsen will likely take this path over to come collect it. So they are sitting here, lying in wait, seeing if they can catch Bjergsen out.
Yeah, and at this point, so much of it is about the vision control. TSM has had 4 control wards in their inventory, and they need to be able to prevent these invades because risks like this are huge.
Nah, Smite comes through. Moon finally gets a camp away from Sven Skaren. And out they go out of the jungle.
Yeah, they can't actually continue that play because Altec is pushed in. The TSM bot lane could respond much more quickly, and they would end up at a numbers disadvantage.
And this is also when FlyQuest is at their best, is when they're in a position to force the enemy team to make quick decisions. It's not necessarily a genius invade to go around the back like that, but you have to respond very quickly in those situations. So FlyQuest have a lot of control wards in the river right now, and that unlocks High to roam, which accelerates the pace of the game.
Plus, even just the delay on the blue buff for Bjergsen, they now don't know what vision FlyQuest has around that area. It makes moving over for that blue buff transfer a lot more scary.
It does. We will continue to track the vision game throughout this one. 800 gold lead to FlyQuest. You can see Biofrost, though, still playing for these control wards, trying to make sure they've got everything they need. TSM have a pair of deep wards in the bottom jungle, and FlyQuest have actually lost all of their deep wards themselves. The river actually lit up much more by TSM. Balls looks at the roam, spots out, gets nothing for it.
And there still will be a lot of tension around this bot side, and now the middle lane and the jungle is roaming out towards Balls.
Here comes the chase. Can Syndra land it? W across the wall, not going to land the stun. Nice attempt. Explosive cast for safety. Maybe more than was needed. But a trade of ultimates. And another. He tried.
Just in case they were fighting for 10 seconds, that arrow could have got there.
And this does give TSM the freedom, once again, to push aggressively in the bot lane. They so badly want to clean up this turret, which is very, very low. And unless Moon gets down here in time, I think they're going to get it pretty soon.
We'll see if it can happen. That turret is dangerously low. Last time around, FlyQuest was able to stop the play. And Moon, you can see, is still playing on the bottom side of the map, but he's not all that close by. Sven's far, though.
Yeah, Critically Wild Turtle doesn't quite have Blade of the Ruined King yet, which is when the Lucian really turns on. And they don't have any type of deep vision control, which makes it much riskier for TSM to push up in that bottom side. Even if you look at the jungle right now, it's actually Moon who's able to move in for some of these aggressive wards, and he may even be thinking about a dive.
Hasn't been seen just yet. Yeah, this is dangerous with Biofrost having a lot of shielding available. Maybe gets a root onto Altec. It's gonna land for the tether. Wild Turtle has not yet gone in with Culling. There he goes, pops the ulti and turns it off early. Minion Wave was in the way.
Double summoner spell usage from Lemon and Altec, and Moon still just chilling on a ward, but
High's here too.
High. Maybe they can bait it. Nope, not gonna find it just yet. Satchel's over only the one of them, and they have not yet caught Sven. Explosive cast down for a few more seconds, so Moon couldn't pull him into the team. Unless I'm misreading that cooldown. Nope, 3 seconds to go.
Also have to point out how vulnerable High can actually be in the mid lane right here, trying to rush towards that Ghost Blade. No magic resist against a spell pen stacking Syndra. Incredibly dicey, so High can't get hit by any of those skill shots in lane if he wants to make any of these roams, which he's been doing.
And that's partly why he has gone down on this CS deficit. I mean, all his itemization is moving towards roaming around the map. He has Moby Boots and a Ghost Blade. He's going to have a lot of movement speed, but TSM may just finally knock down this turret.
High get there in time with Moby Boots. Turret's going down.
4, first turret goes down, an explosive cast pulls in, and they get the kill traded in. Now can they find more? Here comes High, wants the damage on a Bjerg, gets away from some of it. Decent equalizer, but do they have the rest
Moon
of what
has
they
flash
need?
and body slam.
He's got some pushes in. There's the slow, the barrier in for Bjergsen. Bleed's gonna kill him off, and there goes the kill. High picks up a second.
This could also be Dragon for FlyQuest on what was an overcommitment for that first turret.
Yeah, TSM continues to try and go back to that spot, and FlyQuest has been there with the counter on multiple occasions. This is interesting as well because Hanser, I believe, canceled his teleport, whereas Ball's completed, and they're, instead of going for the Mountain Drake right away, which we've mentioned would benefit their Baron rushing, they're wanting to make sure the gold stays close since they need to be able to have some strength in these lanes if they want to make these roam plays.
They're going to go for the turret. It's at half HP and looks like there's no defense to be had. That turret will be falling. First turret gold was worth 300, but all said and done, 2 kills is worth 900, counting the assist pool. So overall play, definite advantage to FlyQuest, up 600 total on that extended bot lane play, and they're now 1,400 ahead on TSM.
And the blue buff taken away from Bjergsen. He still has not got one this whole game.
Chasing a High, seems to not have that wall to jump over. Here comes the rest. Nice anchor toss in. That'll be a kill picked up. Goes over to the Nautilus, actually, and a solo kill, yeah. Takes down Altsec. The culling, I'm sure, was part of that one. Nice pickup.
We're going to get to see that bottom lane kill again, but that was a bit of an example of FlyQuest being down summoner spells from the play they made bottom lane, and then not taking a defensive moment on the map where they're just kind of sitting by their turrets.
And just honestly, not really showing the respect to your opponent there on Wild Turtle. You're an Ashe by yourself in the bot lane against a Blade of the Rune King Lucian. You haven't based yet after taking out turret. Seems like he got greedy for a wave.
Yeah, that's almost definitely the case. When that turret goes down, you should pretty much always recall, unless he was sitting 60 gold short of Rune King, and he's like, I can't recall and not buy an item, but it got him killed.
Yeah, recalling on a ward. So he was basically just thinking that the wave was going to be basically cleaned by Wild Turtle, but Wild Turtle decided to dash forward. I still feel like he should have realized Turtle was going for that play when he went past the wave.
He passed minions,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, Altsec was just not paying attention. Full stop, that was the case there, but of course a useful trinket ward, and of course a good dive by Wild Turtle. Either way, a good play and a misplay turns into a kill for TSM, and now the pressure on Midnight Sun on Altsec. Braum is there for the shield, and that means that Bjergsen cannot get the assassination, but now that it's down, risk once again for Altsec here.
And all of FlyQuest is converging on this mid lane. Balls and Moon are moving over. TSM has been very objective focused, and that is where their advantage have mostly come from.
And it's funny because even though FlyQuest have all these kills, the plays TSM went for were the, quote, right plays. We're winning bot lane, roam down with 4, have the TP threat. These are all objectively well-orchestrated plays. They just got outplayed by FlyQuest every time.
Yeah, and so many of these collapses by FlyQuest, I do feel like will be dictated by Balls' rumble and his ultimate placement, because while High will be able to flank and try and get numbers advantages, if he's there 1v1 versus Syndra, it's very difficult for him to make an in. But if TSM is going to be sending those 5 people mid lane, it's the rumble that would be the team fight turner in this mid game.
And Balls is also the only player on their team, any of the lanes that actually has a gold advantage. Moon may as well, but if you look in top and mid and bot, they're both down quite a bit in CS. So, Balls is really where a lot of the gold is focused for FlyQuest, and he needs to be able to have a good performance with that.
Yep, 600 up for Balls, 600 up for Moon, and as you mentioned, the other 3 are down individually. In the game right now, neck and neck, 29.4 each. High with the Yomas on. Nice flash by Biofrost, gets the root, and High's gonna fall for this one. Goes to the trade kill on a Biofrost, gets it, and he's not gonna be able to run away from Wild Turtle. One more shot will do him in, and the kill gets picked up. Plus gold for TSM.
Honestly, not bad for High. He gets 3 summoners out of the TSM bot lane and trades a kill. I actually call worth on that.
Yeah, I'd have to see it again, but it looked like an early exhaust from Biofrost. High just kind of waited out the damage reduction and then went back in for the kill onto the lower level member of TSM since he thought he was dead anyway.
I think it was simply an exhaust for the slow, trying to catch up to him. But back here in
On
live.
board again. Moon back in solo.
Turtle can't quite get it. Mini Wave's gonna help. Gonna dodge the Q. Body slam. One more hit. The heal comes in, and the kill comes through. Wild Turtle with a second straight kill.
And this is where Lucian excels. It's in mid-game skirmishes when he's got the Blade of the Ruined King and he's building up towards those Black Cleaver components. Almost no one can end up straight up dueling this guy in the mid-game. So much lifesteal from the Blade of the Ruined King. He gets the durability from the Black Cleaver, and he's highly mobile with the dash reset. So you can see there, Moon just couldn't land skill shots on him down the stretch. Wild Turtle killed him.
And that's a fight that Moon opted into and expended his flash in, and still goes down. That is actually a very big loss there for FlyQuest.
Looks like more might be a loss right now as well as the mid lane's under pressure. Bjergsen tailed by Biofrost. Look for the mid lane turret.
Oh, he missed the Q. He actually tried to go for the Gragas one-trick play where you ult them into the waiting Q, but he missed that, and then he misses his second Q. So a bit of a facepalm moment there from Moon. At least if he's having fun with it.
Yeah, that's actually a surprising reaction after a big misplay, but it's the type of spirits you want to be in if you're FlyQuest. That is a huge misplay because when you lose your flash on Gragas, it really eliminates the way FlyQuest can get into a lot of these fights, which they're going to have to be initiating them as high as flanking. So without that, it's basically a 5-minute cooldown on their quality initiation.
I mean, he's trying to style them, right? He's trying to pull off the sick play. It falls flat. I just don't know if the semifinals is a time to go for that kind of play. I mean, that is very risky.
In my opinion, it might be. You are the underdog here. You are, I would say, 9-1 TSM's favorite here in this one. I think you have to take the risk. You have to say, you know what? I'll try to solo kill this guy. He doesn't have any MR yet. Cleaver's not done. And yeah, he screwed it up. But I think pretty often you make that play work.
Yeah.
Either way, the place we are in right now is a TSM lead for the first time since the early laning phase. Ever since kills went through, basically, FlyQuest has been getting the better of this one, and TSM finally. And now into their more comfortable mid-game. And it comes down much more now to the shot calling, to the less obvious positions of the game where the lanes are opened up and there's lots on the table.
Right, and you look at the way that TSM usually shot calls, and it is very controlled. In these games, they've been trying to use Haunter to manage the side waves as much as possible, and then just kind of group up to push down the turrets. It's all about whether or not they can keep this level of control and prevent High from picking them off. And as they keep attacking High, that's what they've been doing.
Turns invisible, gets hit a little bit there, but not going to get knocked down quite. Burns the cooldown, gets away, but TSM in control of top lane now.
I think one of the toughest parts about this game now for FlyQuest is they're playing a very teamfight skirmishy type style, and you have Wild Turtle that's a full item ahead of Ultec on one of the most powerful skirmishing AD carries, backed up by this front line.
Beautifully aimed. The Ashe Gragas combo sets up for a kill and a Sven scare, and yet again, Equalizer pretty good on a turtle. Will he flash the wall? Here comes a chase in. There's going to be 2 kills picked up, make it a third as Biofrost might have nowhere to go. Actually, has the move speed. Will they find a way to catch up to him? Looks like not.
Bjergsen. He's got flash. They have to use it.
And all the movement speed gets turned off. That Q from Bjergsen just cut about 100 move speed off of High, and no more chase to be had. So the 2 for 0 still nice for FlyQuest. We'll see what they get out of it.
They are fighting back very well, moving around as a team, the strengths that we expect to see from FlyQuest, but it is always concerning when you're up kills and down gold, because it means there's more gold for the other team to collect on the map if they do ever really win a fight.
Yeah, a fairly reactive game style by FlyQuest right here, but we're getting to see their initiation tools come in, especially in that last fight. The Ashe Arrow into the Gragas ultimate, and then even the Braum ultimate to follow up. So a lot of good use of those initiation abilities, but until FlyQuest can use those proactively, they're always going to be responding to some advantage that TSM has already gained before they can get a fight.
Both teams are converging on this, and this Dragon isn't going down that fast. Moon is in the area. We may have a smite fight here.
Smite's up for both. Goes in. Gonna get the smite for Sven. Scaring, actually. An early smite for Moon. Nice pickup there, TSM on Double Mountain.
Yeah, Moon smote at 1,200 this early on in the game when his smite does about 700.
I think he was really expecting on the body slam for Sven Scarin to immediately smite. And do it a little bit too early. He got the worst of that, but FlyQuest may pick up turret. Doesn't look like it.
That anchor could have been death for somebody. Now over the wall goes High. Wants to pick up Sven Scarin. Can he get the damage? The smoke cloud makes it really unlikely. He has to get away with that. Good press by Sven. And good hesitation, but High wants back in a bit more onto Sven. Gonna have to bleed. The auto's gonna come in. Jumps the wall to get away, but Sven very low. Might be pushed out of the fight for now.
High is so good at negotiating the ins and the outs on Talon, dodging into the fight, getting more damage done. Even just pushing Sven out of his jungle there is getting them a little bit of an edge and may allow them to take down the mid lane turret.
Trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible, but when his ultimate goes down in that 1v1 skirmish, it does diminish their ability to hold strong in the mid lane. Watch this fight one more time. Notice Ash Arrow into Body Slam, and then Haunter actually cancels his teleport because he would have walked into a 1v3. The Equalizer cuts off Wild Turtle, which allows him to pick up the next kill, and then if it wasn't for Bjergsen knocking Elimination back, that would have been a kill on a Biofrost.
Very close margins here, but TSM finally get their third turret, not to mention their earlier second mount. Greg stun on a Bjergsen, more slows coming in. Ulti gonna land on a several, but Elimination caught out alone. The overchase is there, and as TSM collapse, looking for Moon next, down to 1,000 HP. The slow's gonna land. The rest of the damage will be here. What a great anchor toss, and the end of the line is just that. Wild Turtle getting the kill for himself.
Elimination wanted to get that pick on Bjergsen, but now fight again.
But High engages onto the tank, which is pretty dangerous. Revealed up, tries to get over the wall. Wild Turtle on the flash chase. Can't quite get it into the face, so Balls and the kill comes through. Altec now trying to fire back for a little bit of retribution. Slow into Sven. Nice knockback. The stun is there, but no mana for the grave. The chase in High gets
They're
it.
all low.
2 kills picked up. Now, is there anything more? Bjergsen is a scratch away from falling over. They're going to have to back off in this one.
FlyQues, aside from just now, at the very end of the fight, doesn't back down from these fights. They continue to go back in at incredibly low amounts of health. After Moon and Elimination flubbed that engage, most teams would pull away, which is why I feel like TSM was moving up to try and get vision. But FlyQuest was just getting started. They were willing to turn that fight around and extend it, which I feel like caught TSM completely off guard.
Yeah, it really did. And I mean, the initial play was great from Haunter, zoning the carries off of Bjergsen, keeping him alive, but FlyQuest had a lot more in the tank. And this was a pick that they wanted to get onto Bjergsen. The initial play is great, but you'll see as Nautilus comes in through the bottom, he's onto the carries, not trying to peel Elimination. He puts his damage on the DPS, keeping his mid laner safe.
Yeah, and notice that Haunter zoned out Altec with the ultimate, which is why the damage follow-up wasn't there for Bjergsen. And then at the end here, Moon kind of flashes in a straight line, so he deserves that one. But at this point, it is 5v3 with Bjergsen recalling, so mostly 4v3. High jumps in, which keeps people interested in. This is a little bit crazy. The Equalizer goes down and makes Wild Turtle cut off, who was in over-aggressively in the middle of this fight.
Plus, TSM is chasing through that Talon ultimate, thinking that they had such an advantage, not expecting that AoE turnaround in FlyQuest. And we talked about one of the ways they can win the game is Moon outperforming Svenskeren. Svenskeren is 0-5 on the Graves right now. He is not having one of his better games, despite a good early start.
Yeah, he is honestly getting picked off, and even goes for the Mercury Treads for the boot option, not the extra armor to deal with High or Altec.
For Balls, they want Bjergsen.
Play, wants in this one. Bjergsen is, of course, in the FlyQuest jungle right now. Going to dodge the arrow, going to take some Equalizer, but really only a few hundred damage down. This could be the team fight signal they need. Haunter tanky in the front line, looking for Balls. A nice 4-man stun.
High chasing Sven.
Depth charge, and here comes Bjergsen back into the fight. High really wants in on his Sven. Can he get the kill with the bleed? He's not quite gonna get it, and Sven survives it. 1-0 advantage TSM, and now FlyQuest this time are routed. Elimination shield on, takes a bit of punishment, but TSM get control.
That missed Ash Arrow from Altec was so pivotal. They wanted to get an easy kill on Bjerg, then they commit both ultimates, the Equalizer 2, don't get him, and they don't have anything left for team fight.
And those are not the types of fights you see often when you have a Syndra starting in the enemy jungle. So almost everything we saw there was reactive. Moon hooked.
Yeah, they go off there on end of the team fight instead, but don't find much.
And even just thinking about this fight one more time, FlyQuest invested a fair amount into Bjergsen, but they were hoping actually that they were going to win the fight by collapsing on the rest of TSM who was approaching, but that was not the case.
And now forcing FlyQuest in, and Lemon's down. This is a 3v5. They may get this Baron.
High is alive just now, but he's 15 seconds away from joining the fight. So what can you get in the 3v5?
Double Mountain Drake. This Baron goes down very quickly.
Moon has Smite. He's going to go for it and just narrowly misses. Secured by Svenskeren yet again. The kill picked up as well. Huge advantage TSM now.
And so much of this can actually call back to the missed Ash Arrow, because if they connect that onto Bjergsen, FlyQuest wins the fight and the Baron never happens. Bjergsen cut out, zoned out by the teleport, and Altec 1,200 units away, about misses the Ash Arrow, and the Equalizer doesn't necessarily cut off his path. So now they're down Equalizer and Ash Arrow for the impending fight, which, by the way, is without Wild Turtle. So you still think FlyQuest can take this one, but they never actually get the access onto the right targets. Balls gets pushed very low from a few skill shots from Bjergsen, and then Wild Turtle arrives at the fight and turns the tables.
I mean, the peel back to save Svenskeren there from High was huge as well, and TSM now has a massive grip on this game. We'll see how much gold they can pick up with the Baron buff, and if they can really look to put a death blow in.
See what they can get, if they can beat the average of the attempted Baron power plays. First 30 seconds in, first minute I should say, and the first turret goes down, looking for more in the top lane.
And they have no teleport on Balls right now. They would have to lay down an Equalizer, and it's difficult for High to get a flank. You'd think they'd want to go with this giant minion wave.
Here we go, stun on a Haunter. Equalizer buys a bit of time and does a fair bit of damage, but they're able to disengage through that. Now Balls supposed to kite out and still just pops down. Thank you to the Syndra ultimate. 1 kill picked up for Bjergsen.
Redemption totally reset that fight for TSM. Now, they just have to wait for the next minion wave, which Biofrost is actually going to accompany to speed up the minions with that Baron buff because they want to get more time with Balls Dead and go in for this turret once again.
There's no Ash Arrow, no Equalizer, no way FlyQues can actually challenge for this inhibitor. First one's going to go down easily. We'll see how much more TSM wants to push for.
25 seconds on the death timer. They're going for another game-ending Baron right now. A turret number 1 from the Nexus. Big shield is in. They knock in Bjergsen towards the fountain, but there's no one there to kill him. And that's another one down off the map. 3 versus 5, still sieging. Another turret falls. Although Mountain Drake makes him die faster. The Baron buff helps as well. This time around, it might just be a reset. Health bar is now very low for Sven, but a Nexus turret and an extra kill is pretty good.
Yeah, grabbing that next turret just balloons their gold so much. They've taken control over this game, and I think that was a very well-executed push from TSM, disengaging the initial ultimates from FlyQuest, and then resetting to push in for that kill.
And when we think about the way these team compositions interact, that equalizer is so key. If FlyQuest doesn't get the fight off of it, and if TSM is able to reset with a Redemption and now a Locket, they are so limited in what they can do. Full physical damage from the mid and bottom lane, and a lot of armor being stacked up by the rest of TSM.
You also have to love that TSM is making the little steps and doing the right things, putting a pink ward behind their team, denying any wards for a TB flank. Things like this are what can guarantee a win instead of giving you a high chance.
See if we can make this guarantee happen. It's still 40 seconds on Baron, and it could be enough to break down the rest of the base, looking for the play. Not going to find a stun in that brush, but it was a nice attempt by Bjergsen. And now this turret's going to be falling down. That's going to be turret number 4, I believe, of this Baron.
This has been a massive Baron power play. At this point, we're going to try and play this fight once again. Will the Equalizer come down? High still not even there. He was pushing out mid-wave.
I think they know they have to give away the inhibitor anyway. It seems pretty difficult. Arrow's going to actually whiff entirely. 3 points in.
Equalizer goes down anyway.
Equalizer means nothing as well. Locket blocks most of the damage, and they keep the inhib for now.
But now TSM, there's no more threat. They can push forward, and they could actually get so much off this. They can even go mid lane if they want, try to clear up another turret, because all the powerful engage tools and ultimates are down.
Yeah, I think it's going to require a reset, though, thanks to the time High spent in the mid lane. That wave is all the way at TSM's base. But the cooldowns may still be down when TSM re-engages, but it will be a forced reset for now. High looking for maybe a cheeky play if he can catch a recall, and yes, he's going to find Haunter. Now the team has to re-engage. Satchel Plant has to hit it. Great flash by Haunter. Very intelligent by him to get away from that possible play from High, and it's going to be just a flash down.
Yeah, unlucky that he finds the 200 armor Nautilus as the one person he tries to pick off. Yes, he did burn the flash, but nothing really doing with that. Interesting, we've transitioned to this point of the game, even though Haunter had that difficult laning phase. You really get to see his peeling play as a tank shine, since there is no similar tank on FlyQuest right now who can perform the same task. It really just puts TSM's team fighting at the next level and makes it incredibly difficult for FlyQuest to answer.
And despite the early goal disadvantage that Haunter had, he never really fell too far behind. His mastery, Courage of Colossus, is built for team fighting. Frozen Heart, that's for team fighting. He's not taking anything really to help his laning phase, but still ended up fine, and he's doing great in the team fights.
No Sunfire Cape, which can be a very common Nautilus item as far as just creating pressure on the map. He then got his wave clear through the Doran's items early, doesn't need it at this point in the game.
And here comes the maybe final inhibitor take of the game as TSM looks for the mid. 7,000 gold advantage. Ultimates are back up for FlyQuest, but they've had a hard time dealing this damage through Mantra Shields and Locket and Redemption, Biofrost, just undoing all the pain that FlyQuest has to deal.
And one of the big things we've been missing is the setup for the Equalizer. You need the Braumall to land that, but they're setting up for a flank here. Here they go.
This is the battle. This is the game winner. Stun into Haunter. Can they find the backline early? Zone is for Bjergsen. Here comes the backline attempt. Can't quite pick it off. The Locket Shield is there. Redemption as well. 0 for 0. The stun's going to land. Elimination. Altec trying to kite backwards here, and this one's Sven down to half. 2-man body slam. Not going to get the kill. Moon falls first. Hook back in. Elimination's going to be next off with the chopping block. Gets turned into Lemonade. 2 for 0 TSM.
And I love watching Haunter in these fights. He holds the line, holds his dredge line, and as soon as the fight turns, he's able to follow. That picks up the second kill of the fight for TSM and may give them the advantage they need to push through for this Nexus.
CP back in with full HP, 5 versus 3 to end the game. Balls at half, the Nexus turret falling rapidly in game 1. Gonna go to the way of the North American favorites. You've got to believe it here. The rest of the kills come through, Balls drops, and that's gonna be TSM taking a 1-0 lead. And they have 2 more games to go. Their 9th consecutive finals.
And they're looking good so far. FlyQuest fought extremely well as a team in the early game. They skirmished very well.